Hey boys and girls, and welcome to our ELA lesson today. First, we're going to start off by going over our sight words, then review some phonics, and then we're going to read a really fun book, Slugs in Love, that represents Valentine's Day, which I'm super excited for. So let's go ahead and get started. Ooh, our first word. It's our favorite word. I did it first. That's okay. Our word is move. M-O-V-E, move. What's that hand motion? Move, right? Move. Great job. What's this word? That's right. This word is us. U-S, us. And with us, right? Like us in this, we're all in this video together. It's like me just talking to just each of you, really. It's kind of like a one-on-one session with Mrs. Cooper. It's just me and you, me teaching you. That's it. What is this word? That is home, right? H-O-M-E, home. And we do home like H-O-M-E, home. Because remember, a home is not a house. A home is filled with love and laughter. Good. And our last word is land. Good job. L-A-N-D, land. And that is like, I landed on my bottom when I fell, right? I accidentally fell and I landed, right? Land. It could also mean like land, like this is the land we live on, right? So I live on a large piece of land. So it could also mean that too. All right, those are our sight words for this week. We've been talking about words that end with OLD, such as mold, cold, hold, and fold. And then for yesterday, we started talking about words that end with IND, and it says the long I, it's Mr. I, so it's IND. 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 Okay, so say IND with me. IND. Good. For words like hind, hind, hind. Mind, mind, mind. Kind, kind, kind. Find, find, find. Blind, blind, blind. Now this one I want to talk about. This one does look like wind, which it can be wind, but it can also be in this context with using the long I sound. It is wind, like the boy, they wind up the rabbit, and you ever see those little toys that you wind up and they like hop across the table? This is wind, like wind the string, okay? Wind. Good. So wind, wind. And the last one is finding, because it's not finding, it's still finding. So finding. Remember, ing you can say all together. Finding. Good. So those are our IND words. You'll have a phonics activity today where you'll be building IND words and then using one in a sentence. But again, I used a rainbow video and I told you what each picture was just in case you didn't know what it was. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move to slugs in love. And today what you're going to do is you'll have little hearts that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll have little items on the side. And it's going to be all the little items that are in this book. And you're going to retell the story. So Slugs in Love by Susan Pearson, illustrated by Kevin O'Malley. Let me get a little more situated here. Okay. Mary Lou loved everything about Herbie. How his slime trail glistened in the dark, how he could stretch himself thin to squeeze inside the cellar window, how he always found the juiciest tomato. Though she never spoke a single word to him, she was too shy. She thought about Herbie every morning and every night, and most of the hours in between. On Monday, while she grazed in the strawberry patch, hobby filled her mind, and a love poem filled her heart. She wrote it in slime on the watering can. So this is how these items, the things that they write in slime, are going to be how you retell. Strawberries are red, blueberries are blue, Herbie is handsome, love Mary Lou. The next morning Herbie found it. He looked around. There were already at least 60 slugs in the garden. Which one, he wondered, was Mary Lou? Herbie decided to send a message back. He wrote it on the garden hoe. Mary Lou, which one are you? Meet me here at 2:30. Yours truly, Herbie. But the gardener put the hoe away in the barn, so Mary Lou never saw Herbie's message. Oh. On Tuesday, while Mary Lou was hiding from the sun in the ivy, she saw Herbie hiding under a stone, and a poem came immediately to mind. She wrote it on the wheelbarrow later that day. The sun is shining all around, it shines on field and tree, but Herbie's safe beneath a rock. I wish he'd think of me. Love, Mary Lou. So we know that they wrote it on a watering can, then they wrote it on a hoe, then they wrote it on a wheelbarrow. Mary Lou loves Herbie, teased Jethro on Wednesday morning. Herbie blushed. Who is Mary Lou? He asked. But Jethro didn't know. Herbie sent another message. This time he wrote it on a fence where it would stay put. To Mary Lou, you could make my life complete. I'd love to meet someone so sweet. Tell me where and I'll be there. Sincerely, Herbie. But that afternoon it rained and his letter washed away. What's Herbie's problem in this story? All his messages and poems don't make it to Mary Lou. And then Mary Lou doesn't see them, right? And she's shy. That's her problem. So she won't even, she knows who Herbie is, and she won't go talk to him. Even when Mary Lou was sleeping, poems to Herbie filled her dreams. She woke early and wrote another poem on the scarecrow. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Herbie, Herbie, handsome slug, Mary Lou would love a hug. Love, Mary Lou. Now it's on the scarecrow. That Mary Lou is some poet, said Sammy. Do you know her? Herbie asked excitedly. I think she's the brownish one, said Sammy. They're all kind of brownish. All day long, Herbie searched for a brownish slug, but next to the brown dirt, they all looked a little brown. Herbie left another message on the watermelons. Your poems make me happy, your poems make me glad, but I can't find you, Mary Lou, and that's what makes me feel sad. Your friend Herbie. Now you wrote it on a watermelon. But Mary Lou was in the squash patch that day and didn't see Herbie's note. She left another poem behind on the zucchini. Herbie, you would make me as happy as can be if you'd just pay attention and please, please notice me. Love, Mary Lou. Herbie was at his wit's end. He had been noticing her, well, her poems anyway, and he'd asked everyone he could think of if they knew her. I think she's the greenest one, said Homer. I think she's the pinkish one, said Judelle. Maybe she's the one who likes tomatoes, said Adelaide. All slugs like tomatoes, said Herbie. But Adelaide had given him an idea. Herbie climbed to the top of the tallest tomato plant. On his way back down, he wrote a message. Now he's going to write it on tomatoes. Look at me! I've climbed so high that I can see the world pass by. Mice and ants and old black shoe, but Mary Lou, where are you? I've left you poems near and far. Won't you tell me where you are? Love, Herbie. And that night when Mary Lou went out to snack on a tomato, she found Herbie's message glistening in the garden. What joy! What gladness! What delight! Mary Lou could hardly contain herself as she hurried to the barn. Oh, what do you think she's going to do? I don't know. The next morning, the first thing Herbie saw was, Your rhyme is sublime, Herbie dear. I am here. And look, there's a little trail of her slime. As always, when she saw Herbie, poetry filled Mary Lou's head. She said, "Herbie, I am Mary Lou. We meet at last. How do you do?" Herbie was tongue-tied. Suddenly he felt shy, but at last he blurted out, "I am fine. Will you be mine?" And Mary Lou and Herbie lived happily ever after. Oh, the end. Slugs in love. How cute. So for your retell, what you're going to do is you're going to put the items in order of what they wrote on. So Mary Lou wrote on the watering can. Then he wrote on the backhoe. Mary Lou wrote on the wheelbarrow. Herbie wrote on the fence, right? But then it rained and it washed it away, and the backhoe got put away, right? Then Mary Lou wrote on the scarecrow, right? Then Herbie was asking everyone who Mary Lou was. Then Herbie wrote one on a poem on a watermelon, but Mary Lou didn't see it because she was over in the squash and wrote one on zucchini. Then he had an idea, and he wrote one on a whole bunch of tomatoes, right? He's like, she's got to see this. Wrote one on a whole bunch of tomatoes. Then Mary Lou wrote one on a barn. And then they met and they asked each other if they would be mine. And they lived happily ever after. And that's your retell. And I know that was a short and sweet ELA lesson, but today's kind of just more review. So thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Miss you.